She'll give a lecture on combinatorial group theory applied to two-bridge link groups.
I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me a chance to speak in this workshop. This talk concerns my recent joint work with Makoto-san. Personally speaking, I'm very happy that I finally did something related to topology. Since before this work, I had done a group theory only in the purely algebraic sense. So this is my first work to do with topology. Here's the outline of my talk. In the first section, I'd like to show you the question which motivated our research. And as the reason why we were interested in the question, I'm going to give you a couple of applications. And in section 2, I'd like to show you the statement of our main result, which actually answers the question introduced in the first section. And in the final section, I'd like to talk a little bit about technical details of the proof of our main result. And we start the section 1, introduction. Since this talk is mainly about two-bridge link, let me start with what two-bridge link is. Two-bridge link is a link with bridge number 2, and it's known that two-bridge links are parameterized by extended rational numbers. Also by Schubert's classification, we may assume that a rational number is bigger than or equal to 0 and less than 1, or r equals infinity. And here, if r equals 0, then two-bridge link becomes a trivial knot. And if r equals infinity, then two-bridge link becomes two-component trivial link. Except those trivial cases, we may express r as a continued fraction expansion like that. And we denote this continued fraction expansion using this bracket notation. And for example, the rational number 5 over 17 has this continued fraction expansion 3 to 2. Then we may draw two-bridge link as follows, associated with this rational number 5 over 17. And here in this continued fraction expansion, 3 appears in the first place. Then we start with making 3 half twists in the positive direction. And from this second 2, we make 2 half twists. And from this next 2, we make 2 half twists in the positive direction. So make positive direction, negative direction, positive direction, and so on. And then we see that every two-bridge link is either a knot or two-component link, according as this denominator is odd or even. This is a two-bridge link. We would like to consider the complement of this two-bridge link in S3 sphere. And as proved by Thurston, most two-bridge link complements are hyperbolic. So two-bridge link complements are a very good source of 3 hyperbolic manifold. And Thurston actually proved that this two-bridge link complement is hyperbolic if and only if this rational number satisfies this condition. Numerator is not congruent to plus minus 1 modulo denominator. And also Akiush, Sakuma, Wada, Yamashita pointed out the importance of hyperbolic two-bridge links in Kleinian group theory in their book, which is about geometry of two-bridge link complements. This is the question which motivated our research. Let S be the 4 times punctured sphere in the two-bridge link complement. This is a picture. And these are 4 times punctured spheres in this two-bridge link complement. And we call this 4 times punctured sphere two-bridge sphere of this two-bridge link. And it's known that every two-bridge link has a unique two-bridge sphere on Aristotle. Then we consider essential simple lobes on this two-bridge sphere. By an essential simple loop, we mean a simple loop which is not non-homotopic on this two-bridge sphere, and which is not homotopic to a loop around one puncture. So these can be examples of essential simple loops on two-bridge spheres. And then the following question naturally arises. Question 1. Which essential simple loops on this two-ridge sphere are the homotopic in the link complement? And question 2. For two distinct essential simple loops on this two-ridge sphere, when are they homotopic in this two-ridge link complement? This right picture shows that this essential simple loop is not homotopic in this link complement. Here we actually see that this essential simple loop is homotopic to this loop, and also this loop is homotopic to this trio loop. So this is not homotopic in this two-ridge link complement. And if you think of the fundamental group of this link complement, this question 1 is kind of a word problem, and the question 2 is kind of a consist problem. And it's known that you can obtain every essential simple loop on a 4 times punctured sphere by taking the projection of the line in R2, which doesn't pass through the integer points. So for example, this is a line of slope 1/2, which doesn't pass through the integer point. And then obviously we see that this 4 times punctured sphere is a Gaussian space of R squared minus G squared by the group of isometries of R2 generated by the pi rotations around integer points. Then on this Gaussian space, we see that this line becomes this essential simple loop. And this line has slope 1/2, so we say that this essential simple loop has slope 1/2. And we denote this essential simple loop by alpha sub 1/2. So, well, just like this, every essential simple loop has a slope. Then, for the answer to this question, we want to specifically find the slopes of these essential simple loops. And as one of the reasons why we were interested in the question, I'd like to introduce this application, which is about the existence of epimorphisms between two link groups. For a link K in 3 sphere, by writing G of K will be the fundamental group of link complement, then many people have been interested in the following problem. For a given link K characterized which links K tilde, an epimorphism from G of K tilde to G of K. And in a connection with this problem, many results were known so far, and these are some of those known results. Gonzalez, Acuna, and Ramirez solved this problem when K tilde is a two-bridge link and the K is to be torus knot. And also Borrelio, Rubinstein, and Wang proved that for a given knot K tilde, there are only finitely many knots K if you restrict the epimorphisms to non-zero-degree maps. And very recently, Abel and Liu proved the same statement without this extra assumption. So they completely solved Simon's conjecture in the affirmative. And also Oski and Riley-Sakuma proved that if S belongs to this orbit, I'm going to explain this later. And then there is an epimorphism from this two-bridge link group to this two-bridge link group. And then speaking in connection with the question, the answer to question 1 can determine for given two-bridge links whether or not there exists an upper meridian pair preserving epimorphisms from this two-bridge link group to this two-bridge link group for the following reason. It's known that every two-bridge link group has a presentation called upper presentation with 2 generators and 1 layer. Where 2 generators represent the upper meridian pair of this two-bridge link, and this 1 layer represents the essential simple loop of the same slope, which is alpha sub s. And then if there is so we have the following: there exists the epimorphism from this two-bridge link group to this two-bridge link group, such that A goes to A and B goes to B, if and only if this layer equals the identity in this group. And since, just as I said, this U sub S represents the essential simple alpha sub S, This is equivalent to saying that alpha sub S is not homotopy in this two-region link group. In this two-region link. So, well, if you know which essential simple groups are non-homotopy in this two-region link, we know that which two-region link groups are limiting epimorphism onto this two-region link group. And here, why do we assume open meridian pair preserving epimorphisms? Of course, we assume this to make this transition simpler. But even if you assume open meridian pair preserving epimorphisms, we can have complete characterization when both two-region links are two-regionous. Here's the reason. Suppose that K of S and K of R are two-regionous. Then these four people proved that for any epimorphism from this two-regional group to this two-regional group, the image of A and B are either a meridian pair or one meridian pair, or some other special meridian pair of H of KR. Inspired by this research, Sakuma and I are in the middle of proving that this letter pair do not actually generate H of KR by proving that they generate in free group. So the image of A and B are either the upper meridian pair or the lower meridian pair of KR. This means that every epimorphism between two regional groups preserves upper meridian pair or sends upper meridian pair to lower meridian pair. There are only two possibilities. And here's another application, nice application to a variation of Beck's identity for two-region links. In 1991, Beck announced the following amazing identity, which is about the sum of hyperbolic lengths of all essential simple groups on one's punctual torus. Here's the theorem. For one's punctual torus T with a complete finite volume hyperbolic structure, we have this identity. Here, gamma runs over all simple essential simple groups on one's punctual torus, and this L of gamma is the hyperbolic length. And again, by an essential simple group, we mean a simple group which is not trivial and which is not a loop around the puncture. So actually, this simple group is not essential. This is actually preferable. And this loop is an example of essential simple loop. And if you denote this loop by A and this loop by B, then this essential simple loop is represented by B A square B A cube. Because here B and A square winding twice and B and the winding 3 times. And also it's known that if this is A and this is B, then a fundamental group of this one's punctual torus is the free group with the generators and A and B. And it's also known that there is a one-to-one correspondence between homotopy classes of essential simple groups on this one's punctual torus and contiguous classes of primitive elements in the free group with these two bases. Here, by a primitive element, we mean an element which is a member of some basis. So in this summation, we need to consider all these essential simple groups on this OS punctual torus. Since Beck's identity first appeared in 1991, it has been generalized to other hyperbolic surfaces and hyperbolic three manifolds. In particular, in 2007, Mirzakhani generalized Beck's identity to hyperbolic surfaces with cusps and geodesic boundary, and she found a wonderful application to the relative comparison of the modularized spaces of ordered hyperbolic surfaces. And as more advanced three-dimensional variation of Beck's identity, Sakuma conjectured the following variation of Beck's. Here, for the hyperbolic two-region link K of R, we might have this identity. And proposing this conjecture, he proved that the above conjecture is valid if and only if the following two conditions hold. The first condition is this: the essential simple of alpha sub s on which sphere is non-homotopy in link complement if and only if this rational number belongs to this orbit. So you see that.
What are the R1 and R2? These are just
Yeah,
partial
I'm
fractions.
going to explain that.
It looks like they've got the same weights too, so oh, I see. So everything except for 0, 1, R1, and R2 is doubled, and then, okay. Thanks.
So you see that the first condition is somehow related to question 1, and this second condition is related to question 2. There are only finitely many rational numbers which is contained in the union of I sub 1 and I sub 2, which I'm going to explain earlier, and such that alpha sub s is peripheral. And why is this second condition related to question 2? That's the reason. By a peripheral loop, we mean a loop which is homotopy to a loop on a peripheral torus. And that the following fact is well known for all hyperbolic Topology link R. Another to you in this Topology link group is peripheral if and only if its centralizer is conjugate to peripheral subgroup generated by a meridian and the longitude pair. Since the meridian and the longitude commute with each other, we have the following: U is peripheral if and only if it commutes with the conjugate of a meridian. So from this, we can say that if U is peripheral, then U is a non-trivial conjugate of itself. So it's somehow related to conjugate problem. And here's the main result. Before introducing main result, let me define some group action, which is gamma sub R head action on extended rational numbers, which is Q head. The deep interference tessellation of the hyperbolic plane. This is a beginning of Fourier tessellation of the hyperbolic plane. Fourier tessellation consists of ideal triangles, and we can make the Fourier tessellation as follows. We start with this initial ideal triangle with the vertices over 0, G over 1, and 1 over 1. And then reflect this initial triangle in these three edges. Then we have these three more ideal triangles. Then we decide this third vertex by sum of the numerators of the other two vertices divided by sum of denominators of the other two vertices. So here, this vertex can be decided as follows: 1 plus 1, 2 over 1 plus 0, 1. And same thing here, 1 and 0 over 1. Then this third vertex can be 1 plus 0, 1, and 1 plus 1 over 2. And for the negative side, just to put a negative after making the sum of numerators divided by sum of denominators. And they keep reflections continuously, then finally we get a Fourier tessellation of this hyperbolic plane. And then we can see that there is a one-to-one correspondence between vertices of these ideal triangles and extended rational numbers. And now for each extended rational number R, we define gamma sub R to be the subgroup generated by reflections in the edges of Fourier tessellation with an endpoint R. And also we define gamma sub R head to be the free product of gamma sub R and gamma sub infinity. So gamma sub R head naturally defines an action on this Fourier tessellation. And we can naturally extend such an action on this vertices of ideal triangles, which are Q head. So we obtain gamma sub R head action on extended rational number Q head. And now, for given R rational number, we suppose that ideal triangle R, R1, and R2 is the largest triangle in this theory isolation among all triangles with the vertex R. And then we denote this interval, closed interval by I sub 1, and this closed interval by I sub 2. And then the following fact was already known. The essential simple sides of R and R infinity are the homotopy in this two-link complement. This came from construction of two links. This is natural. And for each extended rational S, there is a unique S0, which is contained in the union of I sub 1, I sub 2, and infinity and R, such that S is contained in the orbit, and sub R head orbit of S0. This implies that the union of I sub 1, I sub 2, and infinity and R is a complete set of orbit representatives for this action. And also, we know this, if S and S prime in Q hat belong to the same orbit, then two essential simples with slope S and S prime are no homotopy in two-link complement. Therefore, if you combine these two to solve question 1 and 2, it suffices to consider the interval I sub 1 and I sub 2 and infinity and R. And also if you combine these first two and the third, we see that if S belongs to the orbit of R and infinity, then essential simple is null homotopy in two-link complement. And then this is our first main research, which answers to question 1. Main theory, any essential simple alpha sub S on which sphere is null homotopy in two-link complement if and only if this rational number belongs to the gamma sub R head orbit of infinity over R. Just as I mentioned, if fraction was already proved. So what we did is only if fraction. And there is a very nice combinatorial description for gamma sub R head orbit of infinity or R as follows. We suppose R has a continued fraction expansion like this, and the epsilon is either plus or minus. Then we write all type A for this sequence and A inverse for this sequence, and reverse order of this. And epsilon A for this sequence and epsilon A inverse for this sequence. Then the following proposition was proved by Oskin, Raleigh, and Sakuma. A rational number S belongs to the gamma sub R head orbit of R or infinity if and only if S has a continued fraction expansion of the following form. So here, epsilon I is either plus or minus, and the C and J are integers. So here, we must have even integers. So if you combine these two, we can say that an essential simple alpha sub S on S is null homotopy in this link complement. If and only if S equals infinity, or a rational number should satisfy this continued fraction expansion. And then, as I mentioned in the introduction, you can have the following corollary. There is an upper meridian pair preserving endomorphism from two-link group G of KS to G of KR, if and only if S equals to infinity or S has the following continued fraction expansion form. So, here's a very easy example. We suppose R equals 2 over 7 and S equals 69 over 238. Then R has this continued fraction expansion 3, 2, and S has continued fraction expansion 3, 2, 4, and 2, 3. And this 3, 2 came from this R, and we have 4 even integer, and 2, 3 is the reverse of this. So this S satisfies this general pattern. Therefore, there is an upper meridian pair preserving from G of KS to G of KR. This is a very easy example of if fraction. And now, this is our second line theorem, which answers to question 2. Suppose that R is a rational number such that R is bigger than 0 and less than or equal to 1/2. And again here we exclude two trivial cases, R equals 0 and R equals infinity. And then by Schwartz classification, we may restrict the range of R like this. And then for distinct SNS prime contained in the union of I sub 1 and I sub 2, well, here we may assume SNS prime are contained in the union of this because, well, actually, well, if you remember this, this is a set of complete set of ordered representatives for this action, and if two rational numbers belong to the same orbit, then those two essential simple groups are homotopy to each other. So, well, which implies that it suffices to consider the set of the union of I sub 1 and I sub 2 to answer question 2. That's why we assume SNS prime are contained in the union of I sub 1 and I sub 2. Then essential simple groups are two essential simple groups, alpha sub and alpha sub S prime are in this Topology complement. If and only if one of the following holds. First, R equals 1 over P and SNS prime satisfy this condition. And 2, R equals 3 over A and SNS prime equals this or this. The proof of this line theorem goes by induction basically on the length of continued fraction expansion of R. In terms of the length of continued fraction expansion of R, this is the simplest case, and this is the next simplest case, and these are general cases. And here we see that for this simplest case, we can have two homotopy essential simples as long as they satisfy this. And for this 0 of A, which is a 2 on 2 in continued fraction expansion, so here, in this case, 2 on 2, we can have two pairs of homotopy essential simples, which are this or this. And for any other R, we don't have any pair of homotopy essential simples, which are homotopy in Topology complement. And we take these two as the base step, and we reduce this case to the case of R tilde, which has a shorter length, like this. And in the middle of proving the main theorem, we were able to prove the following corollary. That R will be a rational number such that R is bigger than 0 and less than or equal to 1/2 as before. And suppose that K of R is hyperbolic and let S be contained in the union of I sub 1 and I sub 2. Then the essential simple group is peripheral if and only if one of the following holds. If R equals 1/2, then 2 over 5, then S equals 1 over 5 or S equals 3 over 3. And second, R equals this for some integer, then S equals this. And R equals this, and S equals this. Which implies that if R equals this, then two essential simple groups, alpha sub 1 over 5 and alpha sub 3 over 5 are peripheral groups. There are only two peripheral essential simple groups. And for this R, there is only one peripheral essential simple group. And for this R, there is only one peripheral essential simple group. And for other R, there is no peripheral group at all. So for each R, we see that there are only finitely many peripheral essential simple groups. Then by the reason, which I mentioned in the introduction, we have the following variation of questions identity for Topology links. So for the hyperbolic Topology link K of R, you actually have this identity.
Sorry, can you go back for a second? How do you get a negative number adding together all those numbers that look positive? Oh, complex lines. Of course, okay. You take into account the twisting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, section 3, technical details. Very briefly speaking, we apply smart cancellation theory to upper presentations of two-digit groups. There is a formula to find upper presentations of two-digit groups as follows. And we may obtain this formula from vertical presentation of the link groups. And there are other ways to present for group presentation for link groups, or for example, DEM presentation or omitted DEM presentation. But here we use a vertical presentation. So if this formula depends on this rational number, like this. So for example, this two-digit link group has this presentation. Two generators, A and B, and one layer, well, we can find this one layer using this formula. If you use this formula, then we have W equals B, A, B inverse, A inverse, and then BA. So finally, this link group has this presentation, AB and one layer. And then from this one layer, we can define a cyclic sequence. Well, actually, we decompose positive word and the negative word like this. Then the length of this positive and the negative is like this, 3, 2, 2, and 3, 2, 2. From this, we make a cyclic sequence like this. And the properties of similar sequences derived from a line in R2 were observed by Hirasawa, Murasugi, and Truman and Kim before in different flavors. And the basic terminologies in combinatorial group theory. A map N is a finite collection of vertices, edges, and faces in R2. And we suppose G has this presentation XR, where every layer is cyclically reduced. Then a diagram over this group presentation is a map with labeling function, such that the label of the inverse of this SG has the inverse of the label of E for every G. And then each boundary has each faces boundary label is equal to R for some R belonging to the union of R and the inverse of R face. So this is an example of a diagram over this group presentation. And we see that the boundary label of this diagram is A square. Starting point doesn't matter. So A square, B and A and A, B inverse, like this. And I'd like to introduce two main classical research. Yesterday, this theorem, Sapir introduced this theorem and proved this theorem. So let me just briefly remind you of this. Suppose G has this group presentation, then Van Kampen theorem says the following: that V be a cyclically reduced word in X, that V equals the identity in this group if and only if there is a reduced simply connected diagram, so-called Van Kampen diagram, over this group presentation with the boundary label V. So this is an example of Van Kampen diagram over this group presentation. Obviously, we see that this face has a label, boundary label A, B, A inverse, B inverse, which came from this, and the A, B, A inverse, B inverse, which is equal to this, and the A, and A cube. So this is a diagram over this group presentation, obviously. Also, this is a reduced and connected and simply connected diagram. So this is a Van Kampen diagram. And what's the boundary label? Boundary label is A square, B and the A and the B inverse, which means that this word equals the identity in this group by this theorem. And also for contiguous problem, we need a contiguous diagram over group presentation. The theorem says that let the UV be cyclically reduced towards in X, then U and V are conjugate in this group if and only if there exists a reduced annular diagram this time, which is called a contiguous diagram over G such that U is an outer boundary label and V inverse is an inner boundary label. So this is an annular diagram, a contiguous diagram over this group presentation. For outer boundary label, AB square, well, we can start with this point, AB square, A inverse, B inverse, something like that. So outer boundary label is like this, and the inner boundary label, A, B, A square, and B square. So we have contiguous diagram for U and V, which means that these two are conjugate in this group. And then I'd like to introduce two important lemmas in our research. We need to solve one problem and the contiguous problem for this two-link group. So we need to find a characteristic for a Van-Kampen diagram and the contiguous diagram over this two-link group presentation. Again, we fix two-link group presentation is a vertical presentation, two generators and one mirror. Then MDF Van-Kampen diagram and over this group presentation with every bundle label being reduced and alternating. Alternating means A and B appear alternately. Then such a Van-Kampen diagram should satisfy the following. Using Kalbuch formula, we obtain these properties. Each vertex, each boundary vertex should have degree 2 or bigger than or equal to 4. And every inner boundary, inner vertex should have a degree at least 4. And every face has degree at least 4. And the degree of a face means number of edges on the boundary. And there are two consecutive vertices of degree 2 in the boundary of this Van-Kampen diagram. Or actually, if you draw a Van-Kampen diagram satisfying these three properties, this can be one such example. And here we can see that on this boundary we have two consecutive vertices of degree 2. Therefore, if U sub S equals this identity, we must have some Van-Kampen diagram with a boundary label being equal to U sub S. Such a Van-Kampen diagram should satisfy this property. Therefore, in U sub S, we must have some subword, which is a product of three pieces of U sub R. Then in that case, we were able to prove that such rational number S belongs to the orbital of gamma sub R hat, orbital of R and the infinity. That's the proof of orbital fraction of Van theorem. And then next, contiguous diagram. Contiguous diagram, let M be a contiguous diagram over two-link group presentation such that every inner and outer boundary label is reduced and alternating, and there are no consecutive vertices of degree 2 in the boundary of M, then M satisfies the following. There's no edge containing both the inner and outer boundaries, and every boundary vertex has degree 2 or 4, And on both inner boundary and outer boundaries, vertices of degree 2 appear alternately with vertices of degree 4. And every inside vertex has degree 4. And every face has degree 4. So if you draw some conjugate diagram satisfying all these properties, it should be like this. This is only one possibility. Here, let's check. Every boundary vertex has degree 4 or 2 or 4, and the degree 2 and the degree 4 should appear alternately 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4 like this. And every inner boundary should have vertex 4, and every face has a degree 4. So every face should have 4 edges on its boundary. This is only one possibility. So using this, we were able to solve question 2. And let me show you some very easy cases of the proof of main theorem, B. If you remember main theorem B part 1, for any two distinct rational numbers, S and S prime, contained in the union of iso 1 and iso 2, these two essential simplets are indistinguishable complement if and only if S and S prime satisfy these two conditions. And we proved this main theorem part 1 as follows. Before this, we should know this. Here R equals 1 over P, so we need to find the use of 1 over P according to the formula. We have this. Then group presentation, group presentation is like this. And here, cyclic sequence of this linked group is like this, because a positive part has length P and the negative part has length P. So only two parts, so PP. Then for this R, the union of iso 1 and iso 2 becomes this. And then the proof of if fraction goes as follows. Well, actually for if fraction, for this S and S prime, it suffices to show that there is some conjugate diagram with the outer boundary label use of S, inner boundary label use of S prime. So actually, we can do this here. Well, every two cell has a cyclic sequence PP. So here, every two cell should have a cyclic sequence. Well, this is a positive word, and this should be a negative word. If this is P and this is P and P and P like this. Because only possible conjugate diagram over Topology link group, it should be like this. There is only one possibility. And here we see that if S is like this and S prime is like this, then the corresponding cyclic sequence should be like this. Then from this, we were able to do corresponding conjugate diagrams, which means that these two words are conjugate in Topology link group. So topologically, these two essential groups are in Topology link. Complementary. And also, if these two words are conjugate in this Topology link group, then the only possible conjugate diagram is like this. So outer boundary label, the cyclic sequence of outer boundary label should be like this, and the cyclic sequence of inner boundary label should be this. And there is a way to recover rational number from the given cyclic sequence. So we have this rational number. Therefore, if there is a conjugate diagram like this, we have S and S prime like this. This is the proof of if fraction. This is a simple case. And also for R, which is 3 over 8, the proof goes as follows. Again, we find U 3 over 8 and find a group presentation and find a cyclic sequence and then find the union of iso 1 and iso 2 like this. And the main theorem B part 2 goes as follows. For any two distinct S and S prime, and these two essential groups are indistinguishable complement if and only if this equals this or this. So if fraction goes as follows, here this diagram shows that two essential groups, alpha sub 1/6 and alpha sub 3/10 are in this division. Well, actually here 3/8, and later is u sub 3/8, and u sub 3/8 is actually this. So cyclic sequence, corresponding cyclic sequence is 332, 332, which implies that every two cell should have a cyclic sequence. Its boundary as the 332, 332. Here we see it, 332 and 332. So this comes from this layer, and we see that outer boundary label has a cyclic sequence 6 and a 6. So we can make alpha sub 1/6 on outer boundary label, and the inner boundary label we have 4, 3, 3, and 4, 3, 3. So we have this essential symbol. Like this, we were able to prove if direction, and the if direction is a lot harder. If these two words are conjugate, then the only possible types of cyclic sequence of S are as follows. And here, this and this are possible, and the other four cases are impossible. And the following picture shows that CSS equals this cyclic sequence of 3, 3 is impossible. Well, actually here we see that if outer boundary label has cyclic sequence 3, 3, then this is the only possibility, 3 and the 3. Then each two cell should have boundary cycle 332, 332. So if this is 3, 3, then inside the boundary should be 2, 3, 3, 2. This is the only possibility. But this cannot be some use of S prime, because here in this cyclic sequence we have 2 consecutive 3 and 2 consecutive 2. Or actually there is some property of this use of R. In every use of R, if there are two possibilities. Use of R is either M type or consists of M or M plus 1. And in case it consists of M and M plus 1, if M occurs consecutively, then M plus 1 should not occur consecutively. So here, 332, 332, so 3 occurs consecutively and 2 occurs on once like this. But in this picture, we see that 2, 2 occur consecutively and then 3, 3 occur consecutively. This is not possible for use of S prime. So this cannot be conjugate diagram for use of S and use of S prime, and something like this. And also, the following picture shows that alpha 1/5 is preferred in this exhibition. Here, in the mirror proving theorem B, we were able to obtain this conjugate diagram. We see that outer boundary label 5, 5, inner boundary label 5, 5, which means that outer boundary label is the use of 1/5. And the inner boundary label is also use of 1/5. So use of 1/5 is conjugate to itself. And so start from uppermost vertex with outer boundary label in clockwise direction with the initial label A, then you have this. And then inner boundary label with the same base vertex with clockwise direction, sorry. Then you have this. Then since these two words are equal in this fundamental group, so we have this equality. Then we see that this word commutes with the conjugate of this meridian. So as mentioned in introduction, this is a proof. This is how we were able to obtain